Okay, good evening. My name is Dr. Hernandez. I'm the principal at the high school. Thank you for coming tonight. This is our parent scheduling and program of studies overview. We really do appreciate you being here. We have a lot of things planned that we want to talk to you about. Our scheduling course request forms go to our students in grades 8 through 11 on Friday. So this is like our little bit of a sneak peek just to talk about what's within the program of studies, how to use it as a helpful tool, guide, resource, giving you an overview of the scheduling process from our perspective. We're happy to have you here tonight. So the whole goal tonight, I kind of have written up there in italics, it's choosing wisely. We're really fortunate that our high school program of studies and our course offerings are diverse, they're robust. There are so many different opportunities available to our students that we want to help you, the parents, and our students make a wise and educated decision so that the classes that they're taking and they're choosing to take are aligned to their skills, their interest, and where they can maybe potentially see themselves one day. Just out of curiosity, to see a show of hands, how many parents of incoming, like next year, 9th graders do we have? Rising 9th graders. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Rising 10th graders, rising juniors, and rising seniors. Anybody who has a child that's maybe considering coming to PR for the first time next year? A few of them, okay. So welcome, we're excited that you're here tonight. Before we begin, just some general welcomes. Like I said, my name is Dr. Hernandez, I'm the principal. I am joined by Mrs. Kuchnicki and Mr. Barlak, who are two of our three assistant principals. We are alpha principals, so when they get up here, they can introduce themselves and let the families know what alpha groups that you're working with. And we will be hiring a third assistant principal here shortly. So that's a little bit of our administrative team. We're also joined by our wonderful school counseling team, and it is School Counselors Appreciation Week. So why don't we give them a round of applause for all the work they do, K-12 for our students. But when I introduce you, could you just stand up and wave? So with students' last names A through D, we have Mr. Anthony Rock. Students' last names E through K, Mrs. Jennifer Bowers. Students L through R, Mrs. Tony Filipowski. For our students with last names S through Z, Mrs. Leslie Straub.
Hi, guys.
Our transition counselor, students with special education services, Mrs. Jocelyn Season. Our director of college and career counseling, Mrs. Whalen. Within the school counseling office, we also have a social worker, Mrs. Carolyn Welshons. Some of you may have worked with Carolyn before. She works with students from across the district. We have two wonderful administrative assistants, and Mrs. Duffy and Mrs. Arline. And we have a secondary school psychologist that works with the department and administration often, Dr. Ramirez. On top of that, we're joined tonight by our assistant superintendent for secondary education, Dr. P. Can you wave and say hi? So we really are happy to be here with you tonight. We have a team that wants nothing more than to help your child or your children achieve their goals, their dreams, and their aspirations. A little bit of an overview. We want to talk to you a little bit about the scheduling process so that you know what it's going to look like here. Really beginning on Friday. We would like to review with you course pathways and just making decisions that best support your child and their future goals. That's that choosing wisely tag that we talked about at the start. We have a saying that we want the right course for a right student at Pine-Richland High School. So depending on who your student is and where they're at in their educational journey and their interest, we want to make sure that they get the right courses. And we want you to learn more about the program of studies and Naviance and how they're used to make those wise and informed scheduling decisions. All told, we'll probably be in here for about 20 to 25 more minutes. When we're done in here, we'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may be wondering. If you have a question, we encourage you to ask it, because chances are if you're wondering it, so is somebody else. We will record, like I said, and we'll share out with you. Then we have a few breakout sessions following this that you're welcome to either attend, or if you feel like you have enough, you don't have to either. So, scheduling timeline, where we're at right now. During the week of January 23rd and some a little bit after that, at the middle school with our 8th graders and at the high school with our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, our teachers shared course recommendations with students. So every student would have had, a one-on-one conversation with the teacher recommending them for a course next year. So your student should know which course for core content areas that they were being recommended for, and for elective areas as well. We've done a presentation similar to this for our 8th grade class. They actually came over on a wintry, snowy day and were able to meet with us, and we surprised them at the end. We had some pictures of their winter dance and some things that they did just to get to know them a little bit better. And there's going to be a lot of work coming to transition them to high school. We do a lot of wonderful things, and we're looking to add a lot of wonderful things. We met with grades 9, 10, and 11 shortly after that. On Friday, Mr. Barlak will speak further to this, course request forms go live in Sapphire. So that will be sent to you as the parent and to your student in the community portal. And we're asking for those to come back to us by February 17th. So it kind of gives you like a window of time there, a week, to just indicate what courses that you'd like to be able to schedule or request for next year. During the weeks of February 21st to March 14th, both with our 8th graders and with our high schools, counselors will be meeting with students to confirm their scheduling choices. And then on March 17th, students are going to receive, via the community web portal again, your course verifications. So it's important to note that choosing classes is both an interactive and a thoughtful process. You know, we hold scheduling nights like this because we want you to know as much about the scheduling process as possible, and we meet with individual students and provide recommendations and talk to them in large groups because there's a lot of wonderful things here that we offer. Stressing that it's an interactive process, that along the way, you know, none of us are, you know, experts as parents as to what courses our kids should take. If you have questions, if maybe your child was recommended for a regular levels class, but you think they're ready for that honors level course, the team of counselors, the teacher in that specific situation, and the principal team, we're here for you. It's an interactive process. We'd like to know from you, what your thoughts are. If your child's really interested in art and you want to get them in an art pathway that accesses our AP courses and some of the higher interest electives that we have, our guidance counselors and art teachers are wonderful resources for you to start to learn a little bit more about what's available here at the high school. If your child's an 8th or 9th grader, 10th grader, whatever it may be, and you want them to be on track for a specific college or university, or to get feedback if they're on track for that, Mrs. Whalen, our Director of College and Career Counseling, as well as the team of counselors, are experts in that area. Wonderful resources for you. So just want to really emphasize that we're looking at a timeline right now, and those dates are important to us because they help us build the master schedule for next year, but want to really emphasize that this is an interactive process. So as you have questions, our team's here for you and for your child, and we want to be able to help you out. A little bit about life at the high school, because there were a lot of current 8th grade families here that raised hands. College, career, and community readiness are very important for us. For some of you, you're going to have a first-time high school child, and I know that can be terrifying, but what we all know is that 4 years go by really quick, and we want them to gain academic skills. Obviously, we want them to engage in our sports and extracurricular activities, but we want to produce graduates that are college and career ready. We want graduates that value good school attendance, and not only good grades, but being a good person and doing the right thing, and valuing that if they see something concerning, they say something, that they report it. Community readiness is really important to us as well. Through extracurricular engagement, through clubs and activities, and through what we do with our students in school, you've probably seen a lot of things such as volunteerism and community service. We want our students to understand that giving back helps make our community better for everybody, and it helps make you a good, well-rounded person. The picture you have on the right there, you see on the right, is of our student section, and I put that on there for a reason, because that speaks to that community readiness goal that we just talked about. That's our student section. One of the things that they did this year was raise over $3,000 to donate to pediatric cancer awareness. So those were things that we work with the student leaders to develop, and it's good things that are going on right here in our school and in our community. At the high school, there's deep opportunities here at this high school for engagement in coursework, extracurricular activities. We're probably over 50 clubs at this point in time, and student and staff engagement, and you'll learn tonight that our program of studies is very robust. It not only offers courses, but it offers course pathways. It's aligned to career clusters. There's a college and career readiness section in there for you. We have a time management planner built within our program of studies because we value having well-rounded individuals who are able to balance academics and athletics and work for some of them with downtime and recreational time. So we have that in there for you. We have a 4-year plan of studies in there that our students do with our counselors so that you know where they are in terms of being on track for graduation. Our requirements for graduation are 24 total electives. Our students do need to graduate with 4 credits in English, 3 in math, science, and social studies. We require an additional flex credit, meaning 1 extra credit in math, science, or social studies. The large majority of our ninth graders, probably 95 plus, will take their health and PE credit in ninth grade. And then they take non-elective credits. Some of those can be 3 credits a year at Beatty CTC. Some of those can be credits in art or maybe world language and engineering. There's a lot of great opportunities for our students. So 24 total credits, plus we do require proficiency aligned with Act 158 across the state in the Keystone exam in Algebra 1, Literature, and Biology. There are 5 pathways to students to be proficient. Tonight we're not going to go into all of that. We obviously want our students at least at a proficient level, if not better, but there's a lot of opportunities if you're a parent of a rising ninth grader that if you're concerned about that, we will work through that with you over the course of your few years, 4 years in high school. Just some considerations for you as you're scheduling. Okay, I know I will be anxious when I have my first go through high school that you want them to take the challenging courses that lead to a good GPA and are aligned to their interests. Just make sure that when you're making those scheduling decisions as a family that you're valuing balance. Students here, 82+%, I think we were 82.5, Dr. P, for the first 9 weeks, are involved in some type of sport, club, or activity. Okay. You're a football player, or a soccer player, or a member of the band. That adds up. I mean, you only have so much energy and so much time. So if you are really interested in science, maybe take honors courses in science. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to take it in every single content area. Keep in mind that balance, health, and wellness are really important. Keep in mind for our students that they engage in career education awareness standards and lessons through a program called Naviance that Mrs. Whalen's going to speak about that will help start to form what are they interested in, and where do they see themselves one day, and what colleges and universities are out there, and what do those colleges and universities require. So that Naviance tool is very helpful so that your child can make good educated decisions on their schedule. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Barlak to talk about our scheduling process.
So I am Mr. Barlak. Like you said, I am the alpha principal for letters A through F when they come up next year. Currently I'm doing A through K, but once we get that third principal, I will be A through F. So just looking at the scheduling process to kind of give you some important dates and what to expect and why it's so important that we follow these deadlines when doing this process. The academic course recommendations, which hopefully have been provided to the students by now, those will get pulled over as requests. So when the community portal releases the course requests, you are going to see pre-populated X's in the 4 core subjects, so math, science, English, and social studies. Where you see those X's or dashes on the course, that was a conversation with your student as to why they recommended that class. So when you start to think about whether that's the right course or if they want to go up or if they want to go down, I suggest you ask your student, why did your teacher say that this was a recommendation? I think it's a good conversation to have. So then you can get an understanding of why that teacher's thoughts were there and then kind of start to have those conversations about the best placement. One of the things that's important to look at also when you're looking at these recommendations are the prerequisites. The program of studies is very well mapped out and you'll be able to see pathways. And prerequisites play a big part in that. So if you're someone who is really looking to take, say, AP Studio Art at some point in your high school career, okay, the program of studies is a great tool to kind of back map that, all right? So you start with that AP Art Studio, right? And then you backtrack to the prerequisite for that. And then that course, the prerequisite for that. So as an incoming ninth grader, I know I need introduction or foundations to art in order to start that track to end up at AP Studio Art. Okay, so it's real important to kind of have an idea where you'd like to end up, because some of these courses aren't offered to our freshmen, but it's important to know which ones you're going to want to take to get to those ones that you're really looking forward to. Okay, some important dates, like Dr. Hernandez already said, a letter will be going out tomorrow morning, a communication. It'll go through as many different ways as I can think of to send it to you so that everybody knows that it is live as of 7 a.m. on Friday, okay? And if you stick with my group after this breakout group, we'll kind of show what that's going to look like. And what's important, again, is that you talk about electives And for each electives, it's very important that we select alternatives, all right? The scheduling process is a system. It runs from a computer. It is not something that we do or the counselors do anymore. So what it's going to do is it's going to start at seniors, and it's going to start scheduling the students downwards towards the 9th graders, okay? So you might not get your first selection if it doesn't fit with some of the other core subjects you picked. So it's very important for each elective, you pick an alternative, all right? Do not pick the same alternative for each elective, because what will happen is if that alternative doesn't get picked, then we don't have any other choices to go for. So for each elective, you want to look at a different alternative that could take in place of that, all right? And then when the schedule happens and when we have these verification meetings with your counselors, we can talk about kind of the order the students would want to have those alternatives go in, okay? With the scheduling process, we've mentioned that we've had these conversations with our teachers. An important thing to realize, if I was recommended honors, let's say honors biology, okay, and you're talking with your student and they're really nervous about that honors biology and they're planning on doing all these different activities, they're coming to the high school and you think it's a good idea to step back down to the academic level, all right? You can do that as a parent just on the form. All you would do is you would take that checkbox and then you would check it down to the academic biology. Now, with that, if I'm sitting and recommended academic biology and your student's saying, you know what, I could have done better, I know I can do better, I think I should try honors biology for this upcoming year, all right? With that, did I go forward one? Sorry. Can you take me back one? So with that said, you can't step up a level without what we call the waiver process. And what will happen is, and there will be directions in the letter in the communication I send out tomorrow, but another form will come out where you're basically signing off that the student is choosing to waiver up. All right, and there's policies that we have in place when you choose to waiver up. A student that is in that class, we say that you would remain in that class for the first semester. Okay, so that means that if I wavered up to that honors biology class and I'm sitting at week 6 and I'm kind of at that point like, oh, what did I do? I made a mistake here, but we have to realize that we're going to be in that class for that first semester. All right, it's really important that we make sure everybody understands that, because the master schedule process is done based off of these course request numbers. So when I'm looking at that numbers and I see 200 kids in academic biology and 150 in honors biology, and those numbers start to change, there might not always be room to drop back down. So part of that waiver agreement is stating that I'm agreeing that if the class becomes too hard and I need to waive back down, that is on the basis that there's room for that to happen. Okay, and that's part of that agreement that will be in that waiver form. So it's really important when we have these conversations, are you sure you are up to the challenge? Are you sure you're willing to put in the time? Are you sure all of these things? Have those conversations when you make that request. Just to reiterate, a week from Friday, we're kind of giving you a week to do that process. And it was submitted and signed back. At this point, you're really just going to submit it back to Sapphire to show that it's done. The counselors are going to have meetings if this is complete. So if your student is a student that does not have this complete, they're not going to have those meetings right away with counselors, because there's not much to talk about there until we have it agreed upon from the parents and everybody that this is the request that we're going to then run the master schedule for. So just a couple things to remember. Use the program of studies. It's one of the best tools you could possibly use when you're looking at this. I mean, I've worked at a couple other districts. Pine-Richland's program of studies is like the tell-all for everything that goes on here, okay? There are so many different resources and so many different guides to pick the right classes, to find out if I need to go up, down, what that class is about, how do I get into the career and tech, like everything you could possibly want to know about this high school is in that booklet. So please, please, please get in there. Also, you want to make sure we plan those elective courses, choose the alternative courses, and the biggest things is for this week when you're having it, you can always call your counselors. Their alphabet is in the program of studies, so if you have questions about scheduling them, you can call the counselors, you can call the alpha principals, call the school. We're here to help, anything you need, but like I said, use the program of studies first, and then kind of reach out to try to questions you can't answer, okay? One last thing I just want to say about the process, we get this a lot over the summer. We cannot accommodate requests for specific teachers, having a class a specific period, or being with friends or things like that. Like I said, the scheduling process is done through Sapphire. It's a program, and so these requests make it really tough for us to try to kind of put those in there when they come in. So I'm going to ask that we really can't accommodate these ones when they come in. Just like this said, when you take these choices and you make these choices, make sure the conversations are being had, because once we set the numbers, we do a staffing meeting come March, I start building that master, and when we start talking about the numbers, they're set. The schedule's set. So if changes come in the summer, we can't really accommodate changes because the sections have already been built. Teachers have already been assigned those. There's summer assignments that go with honors courses. So you really got to make sure when we're choosing, like at the first slide said, we got to make sure we're choosing wisely. Okay? So like I said, I will be at one of the breakout groups. I will talk a lot more about how to use the program of studies for scheduling if you want to stay in that group. But at this time, I'm going to introduce Ms. Whalen. She's going to talk a little bit about Naviance and career readiness.
Thank you, Mr. Barlak. Good evening, everyone. I think the high school is a fantastic place. You heard a lot about our wonderful program of studies. So there are a lot of academic choices. But in addition, I want to remind all of you, whether you're a 9th grade, 10th grade, or 11th grade parent, that there are a lot of resources. And one of them is called Naviance. If you're a current parent here, your child started their Naviance account in 7th grade. And during that time, they were their first entries into their career readiness electronic portfolio. And during the high school, we continue that process. So the students continue building career readiness lessons, which help them connect learning to life. And why is that important? Because we want our students to start thinking about their future, certainly not deciding, but thinking about it. That helps them make academic choices as they go through high school. So what do certain colleges need? What do certain majors need? But most importantly, what do certain careers need? And so we do as a team, not just school counseling, but the English department, the social studies department, and the science department, we all collaborate on a series of lessons that start in 7th grade all the way through 11th grade. So what's an example? Students can use Naviance to research colleges, to look over acceptance history, to look over certain careers and what education is necessary for those careers. In addition, there's scholarships, enrichment programs, and other types of learning opportunities that I enter into that account. I'm encouraging you, if you're not currently my parent partner, please email me so that I can give you access to your student's Naviance account, and then we'll partner together. So whatever I send your child, you will receive a copy of. So let's take a look at what one of the college tools is. So in recent years, I think it's because at one time Clemson won the national football title, suddenly Clemson at Pine-Richland is a very popular school for students to apply to. But how do they know what their academic choices are? Is it a good choice, a good academic fit for them? Naviance will show them. This is two different opportunities. The one on the left is a scattergram. All of the green checks represent the GPA and SAT of accepted students. The bars on the right will tell you, so far for the class of 2023, 46 kids applied. That's a lot, considering we used to just have 17. So in just a few years, the applications to a school like Clemson, out of state, much more expensive, have dramatically increased. I do not have the acceptance yet for the class of 2023. That information is supplied by students when they complete their senior survey. So it'll give students an idea. Like last year, we had 31 students apply, but only 9 were accepted. So that would be what we call in the business of college admissions a reach school. So this information is available to all students and all registered parents. And it helps students understand what it takes to get into certain schools. In addition, I'm going to recommend that you take a look at some of the programs I had, like I just had college planning night. That information is also posted, and I think you'll find it very helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.
Mrs. Whalen, thank you very much. The college planning night that she was referring to is archived on our website. So if you're a parent of a upperclassman student, or if you're a parent of maybe a first-time high schooler, it's something good to take a look at, just so that you have that knowledge and those resources available as you schedule for your child. Want to remind everybody, because this is going to preview a little bit of what Mrs. Kuchnicki is going to talk about next, a little bit about our grading system here at the high school. I think if you don't work in the school, sometimes you don't fully understand this, so wanted to just take a moment to make sure that everybody was aware. We have regular level courses at our high school. Those courses are grade weighted on a 4.0 GPA scale, meaning if I take U.S. history next year, regular level U.S. history, and I get an A, I get 4.0 or 4 quality points towards my GPA. Okay? We have many honors classes at our high school as well. If you decide to challenge yourself next year, and let's say you take honors U.S. history and you receive an A, your A is worth 4.5 quality points compared to the same A in a regular U.S. history class. So we did talk a little bit earlier about balance and making sure that we have the right courses for the right students. Part of that decision is knowing which courses and what areas do you want to challenge yourself in. If you are looking at a school like Clemson, and we go back a slide here, and we see on the scattergram through Naviance that looks like there's a lot of red X's there for kids that were 3.5 GPA students, and let's just say after your sophomore year you're sitting at a 3.5, it might be a good idea to go ahead and take your junior and senior year some honor courses and some advanced placement or AP courses as an opportunity to boost your GPA. To Mr. Barlak's point earlier with how much our program of studies offers, there are very few, if any, high schools that offer the same number of advanced placement or AP classes that you'll find at Pine-Richland High School. It's awesome. Everything from AP art courses to social studies to world language and anything and everything in between. Those advanced placement courses, including college and high school courses in which you earn college credit, are weighted on a 5.0 scale. So if you hear of a kid that has like a 4.8 GPA and you're like, how is that possible? When we were in school, an A was the most you can get was 4 points. It's because they're challenging themselves in courses that are honors weighted in advanced placement weighted. So we just wanted to add that to the conversation before we take the next step of our presentation. Okay, Mrs. Kay?
Hello, I'm Mrs. Kuchnicki. I am the assistant principal for last names P through Z. I'm also taking care of L, M, and O this for the rest of the school year. Okay, so we're going to look at, so for our 9th grade, graduating class of 2027, it's very exciting for these students. Their schedule is going to consist of the 4 core academic classes: English, Math, Science, and Social Studies. Most of the students will take health and PE when they're in their 9th grade. They'll have a lunch, and then they'll have room for electives based on course choices, which we will review in a few minutes slides. Okay, so for our English department, for students entering 9th grade, there's a few different options. We have our English 9, our Honors English 9, and our Language Arts 9. All of these English courses do require some sort of summer reading. You will have an assignment, and there will be assessments when they return back to school the following year. So for our English 9 and our Honors English 9, those are keystone courses, which means in the spring of their 9th grade year, they will be tested with the Keystone Literature exam, which we do require for a graduation requirement to reach proficiency. Again, so we said summer reading is likely required for all of these. Students do have the option of taking academic, they have honors, and they have AP courses. Our AP English does start in their junior year. And then we do have the pathways up here. So if you see, this is an example of our program of studies where we have freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior pathways. So if you start in Honors English 9, your next pathway would be Honors English 10, but you are able to drop down or go up based on grades. So we do have some prerequisites, so be mindful of those in the program of studies. In our science department, 9th graders have the options of earth and environment or biology. You notice we have 3 different levels of biology. We have biology, academic biology, and honors biology. The differences between those biology courses is the rigor. So if you have a student who's really interested in science and is interested in going into college right after high school, academic biology is probably the right fit for your student. If you have a student that is interested in going into the medical field one day, honors biology, that would be your best choice for that student. We also have our Earth and Environment course, which is another pathway for students to take. It's in place of biology, and then they would take biology the following year. Biology is also a keystone course, which means in the spring of that course, your student will take the keystone exam. Again, here's our science pathways. You notice that they do have a lot of even elective options and some additional options if your student is really interested in science and they want to take some additional science courses within their high school experience. Our math department. So based on the 8th grade course or based on the course that the student was just in, depending on what grade they are, they're going to be taking a variety of different options here. So our concepts of math, that's a really foundational course preparing students for algebra. So if your student is struggling in math, concepts of math is a really good course to build those algebra skills because algebra is a keystone course. So it is tested in the spring of when you take that course. Something to note about the lab courses, anything with lab, that is an additional period each day, every other day. So they will have on A days 2 classes. On B days, they'll have the class and then they'll have a study hall or a different class on the opposite days. So that does impact the schedule as well. Again, we have our math pathways here. We do offer honors and AP classes in our math department. Please note that when your student does get into higher level math, the weight of the grade does change. So homework and classwork, those are weighted differently than tests and assessments. So tests and assessments are weighted more and classwork and homework are weighted a little less. So your overall grade is based more on assessments when you get up into the higher level of math. For our social studies department, you have, as 9th graders, either U.S. history or honors U.S. history. The differences here is reading and writing. So there is a lot more rigor in the honors course, a lot more independent reading and writing outside of the classroom as well. Our social studies department, I know Dr. H wanted to say a couple things about, so I'm going to pass.
Thank you, Mrs. K. Just wanted to point out here to the conversation we had about like weighting and GPA and things like that. Within our social studies pathway, as a 9th grader, you take either honors or regular level U.S. history, and then it builds from there to world history. If your child is a current 8th grader, they'll actually, as a junior, take a class called civics and government, and potentially some of our AP courses that are up there. The electives in social studies really kick in their senior year, and you'll see kind of a wide range of AP classes at the top. Remember, those are weighted on a 5.0 GPA scale. There are 2 new honors electives that are approved for next year in honors philosophy through media and honors research and global issues. Those are weighted on a 4.5 scale, and then some additional semester elective courses on a regular 4.0 GPA scale in principles of law, economics, history through music, and sports and culture. Mrs. K.
As we said before, our program of studies is very robust. Within our program of studies, we have many, many different opportunities for students to take elective courses. We have a JROTC, we have many art electives, AW Beatty Center we're going to talk about in a little bit. Those are offered for students grades 10 through 12. Math, music, science, social studies, world language. There are electives in all of those departments. So please look through your program of studies with your student to find the right options for them.
Just wanted to add a slide. We will have a GATE night in May for students, all grades 8 through 11. Mr. Carrick is our GATE lead here at the high school. He's not our only GATE teacher, but he is our lead. GATE offers additional support here to our students, additional enrichment. There's opportunities for them to go to colleges and compete in competitions and engage in clubs such as speech and debate and forensics and Model UN. GATE programs are different in all districts. For us, the model is very much so enrichment. Our GATE teachers will work with our regular education teachers to enrich what students are doing within their courses. We also have a GATE room here, which is kind of like a place that our students sometimes will come and eat lunch and work with a GATE teacher on a college application, or come to kind of work with a group of students and provide tutoring services to other students within the building. So if your child is interested in GATE, we will have a freshman orientation and available to upperclassmen families as well in May that will be led by Mr. Carrick and our GATE team. And if you have any questions from today moving forward, Mr. Carrick's email is at the bottom of this PowerPoint.
Okay, so as I was saying, AW Beatty Career Center is open to students in grades 10 through 12. Students in 9th grade get the opportunity to tour Beatty with a permission slip, as well as Beatty comes to our health and PE classes to discuss options for Beatty. If your student has missed that for any reason, or if they weren't in 9th grade when they came, they are also offering a spring open house in March, so please look at their website and you'll be able to explore those programs. If you don't start Beatty in 10th grade, that's okay, because you can start in 11th grade and still finish out that program. Okay, so now we're going to go to our program of studies and review it very quickly. If you go to www.pine-richland.org, there is a tab called At Your Service. You will then scroll down and click Program of Studies. Currently, you'll probably see the 22-23 Program of Studies, so just make sure on the left that you're clicking the 23-24 Program of Studies, because that's the most up-to-date information for you. Okay, we're going to go and scroll through a couple different pages, and I'm going to point out some good tips for you. Okay, so we do have a page called Concerns and Who to Call. This is good for if you have a problem and you want to know who to contact. You can go right to this page and you can find who you should call, and then if you click any one of those links, it'll take you right to the information. At the bottom of each page, if we just scroll up just a little bit, there is a table of contents link at the bottom of every single page of this program of studies. If you're online, the PDF or the HTML version, if you click that link, it'll take you right back to our table of contents where, again, they're all links. So if you want to know where the classes in the art department are, you'll just click on that, and then you will be able to see all the course offerings as well as course pathways for our core academic subjects. Okay, so our graduation plan, this is something that every single student works with their counselors on. This is something that can be shared with you so you know that your student is on track, and to make sure that they have all the credits they need to graduate high school. Our time management planner, this is something really nice that you can sit down with your student at the dinner table after school and just focus on making sure that they have that balance between school and possibly work and their personal and social life. $131 pages is a lot. We do have a section on preparing for college. This does have some wonderful information on Naviance, which Mrs. Whalen has shared with us. So please look over that. There are links in there provided to you for additional information. As we said before, we offer so many AP courses, so your child can make sure that they feel challenged. And so we have different areas. We have the art, we have the humanities, math and sciences, and world language. They all offer different AP courses. Again, those are all links, so if you click on them, it'll take you right to the description in the program of studies. Okay, looking at our math courses, this is a list of all the math courses offered at the high school. You see on the side, they're all 1 credit. That means they're a full year course. You have the course title, which are all links, and you can click on any of them and get the course description. And then you can see the open to grades. So a 9th grader would only have the options of any course that's listed with a 9, and then you would see any courses that are listed with 11 or 12. Those are only offered to juniors and seniors. And then you also have the math pathways. So all of our core academic subjects do have these pathways. So if you're wondering, well, what's the next course for me to take? You can look at this and you can figure out which course is the best in the sequence. So we're looking at a course description for Algebra 1 here. So you see we have the course title, we have our career clusters. Those go along with our Naviance lessons, so students can see what careers would be impacted if they took this course. They also have a course description, so make sure that description fits the needs of your child. Okay, so this is a good example of some of our electives. So I said before that the credits on the left side, the 1 does mean a full year course, 0.5 would mean it's a semester course. Now these are all elective options. You can notice that 9th graders do have a couple different options available to them. Microsoft Applications for Business is a really good one for students to take. It goes over all of the different Microsoft Office applications, and that's really good for students throughout high school and college. Okay, so I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Hernandez to wrap it up.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kay. We're going to offer a few breakout sessions here pretty soon. I don't know about you, but we're fired up to meet our incoming 9th graders and the other families that are here. We also just threw a lot of information at you, so this is going to be recorded. We're going to share it out in our communications. And at this time, we just want to know, are there any general questions that anybody's having? Going back to what we shared at the start of the presentation, if you're thinking or wondering, chances are somebody else may be too. So anything, go to the order before we kind of share out where the breakout group locations will be. Go ahead. Can you say that again, Ms. Marguerite? Okay. So, spoken and asked like a true principal. She asked, other than Act 158, are there any additional like job shadowing or senior project type things that are required for us? And the answer to that would be no. Okay?
In the descriptions of each of the classes, coursework, if it's an honors or AP course, do you guys give some type of baseline for a recommendation for how many hours a day?
So that would start with the teacher recommendation to the student. He had asked if there's like any type of recommendation or advice or in the description for an honors or an AP class as to how much additional time that would be. As a general rule, you're looking like an AP level class is an additional hour and a half, an honors class is an additional hour, and then an additional 30 minutes for a regular class. But the most accurate person that would be able to give you or your child that criteria would be the current teacher, who would be the recommender. Okay? Yep.
About language requirements. I didn't see anything up there about the languages, so is that just electives and what colleges look at?
Sure.
Years they look at?
Yeah, so going back to when many of us were in high school, I think a lot of people still do believe that colleges look for at least 2, if not 3 years. In many cases, Mrs. Whalen, that can often be the case. Do we have a specialist over there in this area? Is that what we're pointing to, Mrs. Bowers?
I have control issues. I want to answer.
Go ahead.
She's dying to get up. I am.
Come on, Mrs. Bowers.
Okay. So there is no language requirement for Pine-Richland. However, for college purposes, 2 to 3 years at the high school level is recommended. It becomes an elective credit for us, but it is a core academic at the college level.
So thank you, Mrs. Bowers, capturing that on the mic just for the recording. Not a graduation requirement to take a world language class for Pine-Richland High School. As a golden rule, I guess, would be 2 to 3 years for college applications.
That's noted in their graduation plan.
And that is noted in their graduation plan.
Absolutely.
Yep.
When the 8th graders meet with counselors, are they meeting with the middle school counselors or the high school counselors to?
Yeah, the 8th graders would be meeting with the middle school counselors, 9th, 10th, 11th with the high school counselors, and Mrs. Molay is the middle.
So Mrs. Millay is meeting with every 8th grader in the next few weeks to finalize things. Then she calls us if she has questions.
Yep. I see another hand in the back. Does that maybe answer it? Go ahead.
As an 8th grader, she was recommended for some honors classes. The best way forward is if she talk to the teacher and her guidance counselor for high school, or is it
You could talk to her current teacher and current counselor. You could utilize the program of studies to see her pathway through high school. You're also welcome to reach out to our team here, according to the alpha list, or Mrs. Whalen, and we would love to have a conversation with you as well to talk what her pathways through high school will be. Thank you. Okay. Well, yeah, so she had asked if your child's in honors and wants to move down, is that subject to availability through the master schedule? And that would be yes. We kind of have within the program of studies, and Mr. Barlett can talk a little bit further about this in the breakout study, kind of like a 10-day window, and then beyond there, the policy. And we try to work with families if we can, but you could be held in that class up to the semester. You can if it's available. Yep. Yep.
Can you walk me through the time that the kiddos get their schedules in August,
Mhm.
and then they get choice 1 or maybe even choice 2?
Sure.
Or maybe they didn't get it to choice 1. So what days and methods does the school prefer for a child to reach out to?
Sure.
get a solution before the first?
So the question was, just to repeat for the group, can we walk you through, like, when do your children get their schedule in August, and what happens if they didn't get their top elective courses and things like that? Our schedules would go live to everybody at the same time, somewhere in early to mid-August. What we do from there is we will include in our communication that if you have questions, who are the appropriate people to reach out to. Guidance counselors become the first point of contact in that, so the alpha counselor that you would have saw up there, let's just say you badly want an intro to art but didn't get it, they would be the first point of contact. There are a few different things that we do before school starts. We kind of have like a day where you can walk the halls. We will have a freshman orientation. We're hopeful to have what's called a supplemental orientation this fall as well, where it's a little bit further if you feel like you need a little bit more support. And then we would just kind of proceed in that manner. Any other questions?
Dr. Hernandez, we'll build in the schedule with my daughter's 8th grade. Are we going to have to select like an academic support or study hall, or is that an option?
Sure. So I want to make sure that because we were talking about this just today, for like a goal progress support or an academic support period, we are planning on locking those in, right, for the incoming freshmen?
Yeah, we're gonna mass that goal progress support for students that have had it and that are on an IEP roster. As for study halls, you're allowed 8 in a year. So what you want to do is when you pick like courses for semester or year, you want to make sure that there's not more than maybe a half a year to study hall. Okay, so because you're only allowed to have, well, it's 8 a week. I'm sorry, it's 8 a week. So you can have a full year of study hall plus that alternate of a lab. It's pretty much the maximum amount of study halls you can have.
So that would be a selection for study hall. It sounds like.
We'll go over that too. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So I saw like, for instance, you have apply Mountain Health.
Mhm.
And how do you pick? And both are available to 9th grade.
Mhm.
So how do you pick which one is everyone that is to, let's make alpha?
That would be based on the recommendation of the current teacher for the math course next year. And our teachers would have had conversations. And if you're wondering what the teacher recommended, maybe I didn't hear, by all means, please reach out and we'd be happy to answer that for you. Okay. Alrighty, so this is exciting. Oh.
Colleges look at GPAs, do they typically look cumulatively for the whole 4 years?
Yep, cumulative GPAs, and then what we do is we send out a senior mid-year. Jean? Yep.
It's a cumulative GPA of the first 3 years, that's what they say.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so thank you very much. Like we shared, this was recorded. We're going to have a few breakout sessions. If you'd like to stay longer and talk with us, we'd love to chat with you. We will send this via district communication. Dr. P, did you want to add anything? Good. Okay. Counseling team? Anybody? Okay. So here's what we're going to do. If you are a new family to PR, if you're somebody that's here tonight that you're considering maybe sending your child to the high school for the first time, maybe they're in a parochial school somewhere, Mrs. Stroud, myself, Mr. Rock, I believe we're going to make ourselves available in the library, which is right outside of the main lobby. You're welcome to join us, and we'd like to get to know you a little bit more and talk about what PR has to offer. If you would like to learn a little bit more about the program of study, so that was that overview that Mrs. Kuchnicki led us on there. Maybe you're wondering some of those additional questions with like add drop period and maybe courses that are on the upper level in math or whatever it may be. Mr. Barlack and Mrs. Bowers and some of our counselors will be in old LGI. Old LGI is literally right on the other side of this wall right here, so you would go out and you would go to the right and you'd look for Mr. Barlack and he'd be able to point you in the right direction. If your child receives, or if you believe they would benefit from additional services, including but not limited to special education services, we will work with Mrs. Kuchnicki, Mrs. Thiessen, and some additional counselors in global studies. And if we could, Mrs. K, maybe meet them right on the other side of the doors here, and we'll walk them down that way. Thank you. We really do appreciate it. We're excited to be a partner with you for you and your child's success. Thank you for coming tonight.